All right. What's up, everybody? John
And Kat
from Old Running Farm here. Thank you for joining us. In today's video, I've got beef with Morgan Gold from Goldshaw Farm, and I'm not talking about cattle.
his stupid Highland cattle.
Easy. So, in this video, we're going to actually go through one of the videos that he made on his secondary channel, just called Morgan Gold, where a couple months ago, and I think it was like even in November and December of last year, we had talked about
Morgan Gold messaged John.
well, we reached out. It was a collaborating about the Alpaca Bubble of the early 2000s and trends that he was seeing in the Highland cattle market. And when this video finally came to fruition, that is not what the video was about. So I do feel a little bit bait and switched. And granted, this video actually came out a while ago, and we had planned to do this video a long time ago, but Catherine actually was in the hospital, and there were more
Emergency surgery.
There were more important things to worry about than this silly little video. But so what we're going to do today is Catherine and I are going to go through it because Morgan Gold basically calls alpaca farmers multi-level marketers, which we take a little bit personally, and some of us a lot of it personally. And so we're going to go through it, and we're going to kind of just watch the video and talk to you about why it's
feelings. Some of us more nicely than others.
And let's get started.
In case you haven't seen this video, we are going to watch through the whole thing. You can feel free to go and watch it without our commentary if you want to come back and see our thoughts in a minute.
Yeah, so I think we'll link it in the description below so you can go watch it in full. I know you don't want to give them.
No, I know, but he was so kind to link our channel in his description box, which has led to an influx of hate comments.
It's true. That did happen.
So, thank you, Morgan Gold. Thank you for that. We're going to start watching. Ready?
Ready.
Would you look at this alpaca? Isn't it adorable? Did you guys know that this alpaca right here is a part of a multi-level marketing scheme?
Would you like to be able to work from home and become a boss babe?
That's right. An alpaca is part of a multi-level marketing scheme.
So he's being funny, sure. So this sets the tone for the whole video where it's like joking, but it's still just like putting alpacas in a bad light.
And what we're going to see is him doing a lot of MLM content where MLMs talk about being MLMs, and then MLM is a real thing and they're not good.
Yeah.
And then he flips over to alpacas, but doesn't talk about how alpacas are an MLM. So we're going to explain how they're not.
Yeah, let's see how he tries to say that they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Up to the wonderful world of alpacas.
And this here is just marketing. It's not MLM.
American enterprise. A narrative exists that is as old as the nation itself.
We're gonna make so much money.
Tales of opportunity and wealth just within reach of the ever-elusive American dream.
What makes America the greatest country in the world?
You do.
The multi-level marketing scheme.
But I fear I may have girl bossed a bit too close to the sun.
MLMs, pyramid schemes, Ponzi schemes.
All right, so let's take a look at this chart that he has right here. So a multi-level marketing scheme is another name for a pyramid scheme, which is, obviously a pyramid where you have distributors selling stuff to other distributors who sell it to other distributors who sell it to other distributors who, maybe sell it to regular people. So he's going to try to piece together why alpaca breeders are multi-level marketers, pyramid schemers. Let's see how he does it.
These are phenomena as quintessentially American as apple pie.
It's not what it looks like.
I love alpacas because raising alpacas gave me
Are
an opportunity
MLMs
to
only in
walk away
America?
from 30
Because he also
alpacas.
talks about the
We've been
Dutch
raising
tulip
alpacas
palms, which
for
were
9 years now.
You can invest in one of these cute little guys and earn a cool 10,000%.
I retired 2 years ago because of the alpacas, and it's just been a wonderful lifestyle.
And so this is another thing. So he ties in these early 2000s Alpaca Breeders Association of America advertisements that were super cringy and I wouldn't say multi-level marketing scheme. If anything, they sort of paint alpacas to be maybe a get-rich-quick scheme.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Which they're not.
Right. Totally not.
And if you've watched any of our videos,
right?
you would know that we don't think they are. So he pairs that with, like, you know, the earn 10,000% on your investment. And, like, listen, there's plenty of alpaca breeders out there who sell and buy alpacas for
big bucks,
way more money than we would ever spend. Like, even the person that we bought our first alpacas from was telling us that he spent like $20,000 or $30,000 on a single cria, and like that sort of stuff doesn't make sense to us. But
it's being bad marketing isn't the same thing as being an MLM,
right?
When most people think of multi-level marketing schemes, they usually think of essential oils or cosmetics or wellness or life insurance. They never ever suspect the cute, adorable, furry alpaca.
And you want to know why they think of those things? Because those things are MLMs.
Cutco, like Mary Kay. And I'm not throwing any shade at anybody. If you sell Mary Kay, if you sell Cutco, you do you.
You do you, except for don't take
Herbalife?
advantage of people. No, what's the brand that Mary from Sister Wives?
Oh, the yoga. The yoga
athleisure.
Oh, not Lululemon.
Is it? Maybe it is Lululemon.
No, it's
LuLaRoe.
LuLaRoe, that's what it is.
So these things, people who sell these products, they don't own the company. They don't make decisions in the boardroom. They buy product and then try to resell it. If you own an alpaca and you buy an alpaca, you own that animal. You can make all the decisions associated with that animal. You can choose to shear, breed, not breed, sell, walk, whatever. You can do whatever you want with it. But if you are just selling Mary Kay, you have to buy the Mary Kay product and then you resell it. You're a middleman.
Well, so I think coming up next, he makes some good.
Oh my God, Daniel! I can't do anything. Stop recording. Stop.
People are creating dreams of financial fortunes off the backs of adorable farm animals, only to have those dreams toppled by the economic weight of it all.
My husband and I were looking for a business opportunity that we could share.
And if you listen to the farmers raising these animals, these self-styled pioneers of a bucolic lifestyle, they speak not just of freedom and a profound connection of nature, but also of profits that grow as effortlessly as the grass under their animals' feet.
Alpacas will have a baby a year. I'll describe them as dividends. Each of those dividends will bring, anywhere from $15,000 to $35,000.
No!
Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about alpacas like that. And again, it's like there's a difference in like marketing from the early 2000s and the late 90s and the way that alpaca farming is done today.
Well, it's like if you watch a commercial for like Tide detergent, they're like, oh no, a big stain, and then they wash it and then they show you like the after, but it's really the before.
Right.
Like in the marketing, they might be exaggerating the effectiveness of the product, and that might have been happening in these old alpaca commercials, but none of that makes alpacas an MLM.
Right.
The change in lifestyle has been wonderful, and it's the best decision that we've ever made.
And just because some bald loser with a mustache refers to baby alpacas as dividends doesn't mean that we all do. And honestly, like, there are shisty, bad people in every aspect of life. There are people who do terrible things and not saying that bald mustache guy was a troublemaker, but just because he refers to baby alpacas as dividends doesn't mean that we all think of alpacas that way. I think anybody who watches our videos know that we love our animals very much and we try to treat them with as much care as we can, but we'd never refer to them as dividends.
No, right? They're not.
Like, yes, we want to make a living doing this.
And other things.
And as you'll see, diversification is a big part of any good business plan. But like, just because you make money off of something doesn't mean it's inherently bad.
Or an MLM.
So there's a lot to talk about, but first let's define MLMs so that we're all on the same page.
Generally, MLMs have two main things in common.
First, an MLM's products are not sold on store shelves, they are sold through a distributor.
So number one, MLM products are not sold on store shelves. How many things do you buy that are not sold on store shelves? I mean, if that's like one part of the qualifier, then anybody who sells chicken eggs at the end of their driveway could be part of an MLM.
Chicken eggs are not sold on store shelves. Refrigerated shelves.
How about goat milk?
Goat milk.
You're not a brand partner. You are a salesperson, a distributor.
Now, these distributors, though, are actually usually just regular old people. They might.
That's like one of the key differences there, that you're not a brand partner, you're a distributor, you're a salesperson. So I can tell you from Kat and I, there's no one above us, like, selling alpacas to us that we then sell to people.
And that we have to answer to.
Right, and it's not like there's any sort of commission that goes upstream anywhere.
There's also no commission going downstream anywhere. It's not
Right.
in our best interest to recruit anyone, nor would there be anyone to recruit for any reason. And that's what an MLM is. You're trying to recruit people, and then you get a percentage of their sales. There's no one who we are recruiting to sell anything on our behalf. We're not giving anyone a percentage of our sales, and no one's giving us a percentage of any sales.
Once we sell an alpaca to somebody, that is it. That's the severance of ties.
We answer their questions.
Right, because we've been in touch recently that somebody we sold alpacas to last year who was unfortunately going through some health troubles.
But we're in a friendly mentorship, maybe.
Right. Yeah, there's never any kickback.
There's nothing.
Once we sell to you, like, that alpaca is yours. It's like there's no...
And if you're a Mary Kay or any other brand sales rep, you don't get to make any decisions for Mary Kay. You don't get to choose next season's lipstick colors. You don't get to choose how many lipsticks. If there's a formula change, they don't ask your opinion because they don't care. It's not your business.
Right.
It's not your business. But this is our business. I get to choose. We get to choose how many alpacas we breed, which alpacas we breed to who, where we buy their hay from. We get to make all the decisions because this is our company.
I decide where we get our hay from.
That's true, and I decide which alpacas we breed. It's a partnership.
50-50, basically.
50-50, basically.
These distributors that might be your friend or your neighbor, your cousin, or that mean girl you went to high school with.
Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Their job is to act as a salesperson for that MLM, where essentially they're buying product and then they're turning around and selling that product to folks in their community.
Kind of like Girl Scouts selling cookies.
So now this is getting to the crux of his argument, where it's like we are acting as salespeople for this MLM, as if we're part of, like, we're just one cog in this giant machine of alpaca breeders. And now granted, like, looking at the advertisements from back in the day, it would make sense for the Alpaca Breeders Association of America or whatever to want to recruit people to get alpacas so that they can get more membership fees.
Right.
That's how, that's how associations make money, through through dues.
Like farm bureaus. And
Right,
stuff like
exactly. You know, you pay
You
$150
need
bucks a month.
farmers to pay.
Exactly. But like us alpaca breeders, like, we have no incentive to recruit other people to sell alpacas because we sell our competition. So if we sell 3, healthy female alpacas to somebody who plans on breeding them, we're basically selling our product directly to another competitor, which is like the opposite of any sort of multi-level marketing. Anyway.
But while direct-to-consumer retail sales are one part of the MLM business and often a big part of their sales pitch,
those distributors are always looking for more people to join them.
You get recruited by someone, you become part of their team, and then you are supposed to recruit people.
Again, the word recruited. You become recruited, you become a part of their team. When we sell an alpaca to somebody,
they're not part of our team.
They're not part of our team.
We love them maybe, but
yes.
But this pyramid that's on the screen right now explains what an MLM is, and there's no correlation to alpacas here, none.
The real way that most folks who make money from MLM activity make their money is not by directly selling to a consumer, but by onboarding other folks to be salespeople that sit underneath them. And that person who sits above them gets a portion of their sales. So effectively, you have this sales structure with a lot of people at the bottom, less people in the middle, and very few people at the top, resembling a shape that I'm not exactly sure what I can leak.
The person that sits above them gets a portion of their sales.
There's no one sitting above us.
No one sitting above us.
There's no one sitting below us. So and this is kind of my problem with this video is he says a lot but then doesn't tie it back together. So you're like, yeah, that is what an MLM is, but at no point does he explain like in what way an alpaca could possibly be like this.
Well, and so Morgan and I are friends on Facebook, and I think only because we're members of like the same YouTube Facebook groups, and we had become friends. And so we messaged about this, and once this video came out, I told him that, you know, I wasn't thrilled with the direction of the video. I felt kind of bait and switched on it. And he really didn't seem to get it. And, you know, I think that he did an awful lot of research into this, and you'll see later on in the video he goes through some facts and details about the alpaca bubble. But again, it's like that tenuous grip between multi-level marketing and alpaca breeders where there's like no real correlation, but he keeps just
saying things that are true
about multi-level marketing schemes that are not true about alpacas.
Right.
We call it. And when you think of an MLM, there's actually a lot of attractive principles to it. Oftentimes the promotional materials and conventions and awards associated with those MLMs try to actually make that whole lifestyle look very glamorous and show people having a lot of affluence and wealth and access and living a lifestyle that they might like to live.
Holiday's the best life!
Over the next few minutes, I'm going to share a way for you to make money from home.
And that was an example of exactly what you were talking
That's
about.
my gripe.
Where
all of that is true.
Right. He's saying that multi-level marketing schemes often show like, oh, you're going to make so much money. This is going to be great. You can work from home 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, and make $10,000 a week or whatever. And it's like, sure, that's what multi-level marketing campaigns advertise.
But it is unconnected in any way to alpacas.
And again, like that super cringy, weird early 2000s marketing from the alpaca breeders associations maybe painted alpacas as a get-rich-quick scheme, but again, it's 2024.
And there's no multi-level marketing aspect.
While for folks who might be selling, say, cosmetics, that lifestyle might look like fancy cars or luxury handbags, in the case of Big Alpaca, that lifestyle often looks a lot like this.
We were tired of living in a big city and decided that country life was more to our liking.
If you go back and look at a lot of the alpaca marketing from the 2000s, that's what it focused on. Oh, you got a horrible breath. Ugh. Ooh, ooh. The saga begins in 1984 when the first alpacas set hoof on American soil, imported from the mountainous regions of South America.
Alpacas don't have hooves.
These furry critters, known for their soft embrace and quirky apple-eating antics, quickly captivated the hearts of Americans. By 1991, a modest population of 2,000...
And I mean, listen, like, so, and I think he talked about in some of the comments in this video about how he used AI-generated art to do this. And again, some of it's pretty good and interesting, but like, it's not real.
And I'm just going to talk over him for a second because he's doing some history of alpacas, and all of this may be true, but it doesn't have anything to do with MLMs.
Setting the stage for an economic phenomenon that mirrors the gold rushes of past times.
So a gold rush was also not an MLM.
No.
Hey, don't rumble on that.
An alpaca.
Me, I'm an alpaca.
Native to humans for millennia, they have thrived in the rugged terrains of Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador. Their existence intertwined with the cultures that flourished in these...
Couldn't even find stock footage of alpacas. He had to use stock footage of llamas. I don't know why that bothers me. It doesn't bother Catherine nearly as much. But, well, so he says, yeah, I know these are llamas, but you should try to find cheap stock footage of South American alpaca ranching with the budget we've got for this YouTube channel. I'm willing to bet that the budget that you've set for this YouTube channel is rather high. Morgan.
Have captivated hearts beyond their native lands, though. And these animals are smaller and more docile than their camelid cousin, the llama. The rise of alpacas within the United States coincided with the burgeoning movement towards sustainable and boutique agriculture. things that were bucking the norms of the big mega farms that were dominating and driving a lot of food production. These animals, with their minimal impact on the environment and their luxurious fiber, fit perfectly into this new agricultural ethos. They became symbols of a lifestyle that married the simplicity of rural living.
Be nice, Susie.
That's us.
That's our alpaca and our old cat.
That entrepreneurial spirit that's often at the backbone of an MLM.
If you have an art...
And so then this is where he says, you know, combining the ideal of like farming with the entrepreneurial backbone of an MLM, but it's like, I'm sure anybody out there who has done any sort of farming, or even if you have backyard chickens, it takes a certain entrepreneurial spirit to get going and to do it. You know, it's not something that everybody does. And even just starting your own business, doing your own thing. If you want
business.
Entrepreneurial spirit. You can't make an entrepreneurial spirit
Be an MLM.
be an MLM.
Visualized yourself at Double Black Diamond? You need to kick yourself in the rear.
Alpacas became more than just farm animals. They were investments, commodities to be bought and sold in a burgeoning market.
And listen, I'm not a big fan of referring to livestock as commodities, but if you are to look at any sort of profit and loss for any sort of farm, livestock are commodities. If you're going to try to make money, commodities is just a word to refer to whatever you sell. So like,
to the moon. There necessarily wasn't the demand with textile manufacturers that there needed to be, but because there was so much interest in the animal itself, the real jackpot for money for those earliest days of alpacas was in breeding.
you know, this is also a thing that I don't think is true. So he's saying because there wasn't enough demand for the fiber, there was a demand for the animal itself. And I mean, maybe that's true from back in the day, but I can tell you now, the alpacas that garner the most money at auction or whatever are those who go in with the best fiber, who go and do shows and have the most ribbons and whatever. And it's all related to, I mean, there is like the body composition, and I think we learned that when we went to the Big E that one time, where you look at the actual form of the animal, but the main bullet point in the value of an alpaca to somebody who wants to just make money off of them is the fiber.
And as far as him saying there isn't a market for the fiber, but there is a market for the animals, over the past 5 years, we've probably sold 500 alpaca hats.
Yeah, probably more than that.
And hundreds of skeins of yarn made out of alpaca. And we've probably sold 10
alpacas,
animals.
Yeah. I'd be up for selling more, but...
But luckily I'm the CEO, bitch. Just kidding, love you.
Not this time. This is our time. This time, you're gonna hand them a business card that says, I'm CEO, bitch.
The mathematics of multiplying alpacas, with females birthing every 18 months, turned pastures into
females birthing every 18 months. And they actually, he in one of the clips that he used, they said it, you know, alpacas birthing once a year. So the gestation period for an alpaca is around 11 to 12 months, not 18 months.
And you can't take 6 months off, because then every other year you'd be birthing in the winter, and you can't do that with alpacas.
And granted, if you have alpacas somewhere like Florida, which is probably too warm of a climate for them anyway, you just can't have it, you know, one birth in summer, one birth in winter, one birth in spring,
That's
whatever.
not how alpacas work.
Not how it works.
Turn pastures into potential gold mines.
Prices for alpacas soared with the demand, commanding up to $750,000 for a single animal.
That was one time.
Yeah, John looked this up.
I did, and I don't have the information right in front of me, but I know that that was one time on auction, and it was like split 4 different ways. But it's like, just because there are 4 lunatics out there willing to spend $750,000 on an alpaca, right?
Say it with us this time. It's not an MLM.
Logan Paul spent $2 million on a single Pokemon card.
Not an MLM.
Thank you.
Heavy regulation
Heavy regulations on livestock imports, particularly from Peru, a significant alpaca hub that was also rife with foot and mouth disease, isolated the U.S. breeding market. It became a closed system, and propelled by a wave of advertising that romanticized alpaca farming as an escape from the urban grind.
Alpacas!
Romanticizing alpaca farming as an escape from the urban grind is no different than, say, romanticizing duck farming in Vermont as an escape from the urban grind. But does that mean a duck farmer is in an MLM? Because he does sell hatching eggs.
Stay in your lane, duck boy.
Stay in your lane, duck boy.
More and more
Too much?
Strong.
Just enough.
It was in the interest of the alpaca breeders as well as the breeding associations to bring more. The market became about buying and selling breeding stock, not actually producing the fiber that the alpaca
It was in
created.
the best interest of the breeders as well as the breeding associations to bring more people in. If you're an alpaca breeder, the last thing you want to do is for 6, 7 other alpaca breeders to spring up in your area. So it's not in the best interest of an alpaca breeder for more alpaca breeders to
You want to be the only game in town.
Right, and again, it's like that whole thing of like the Alpaca Breeders Association want more breeders so that they can get more membership fees because that's how they make their money.
So when I say that alpacas are an MLM, this is precisely what I mean. Because if you're just looking at raising alpaca as a farm animal to produce fiber that will help you make just a little bit of money, they are wildly unprofitable.
Okay, so he's going to now talk about Ann of all trades and the money that she makes with alpaca fiber. Love Ann.
No shade at Ann.
No shade at Ann. She does a lot of things like way better than both of us. I don't know that alpaca farming is one of them.
How unprofitable, you might wonder? Well, I asked my friend Ann, who happens to raise alpacas, how much she makes from her alpacas every year.
Alpaca fiber is valued at $2 an ounce. So assuming that you get a 5-pound fleece from your annual shearing,
It costs $32 per animal to shear them. It costs $30 to ship the fiber to the mill, $50 to wash, dry, and pick the fleece, $140 to mill it into yarn. That 5-pound fleece will yield about 3.5 pounds of yarn. The mill will ship it back for $20.
the total value minus expenses for the used fiber equals $165.50. Monthly shots for alpacas, which are like pretty much required if you want to keep them alive, amount to about $5.
Feed and mineral comes to about $20 per animal.
So it costs $300 per year, and that is assuming there's no veterinary costs. In the most ideal financial situation, you will lose $134 per year per animal, and that's not...
Okay, so she says you're going to lose $134 per year per animal. Also, there should be yearly veterinary costs with alpacas. They need to get CD&T and rabies every year.
And only a vet can give rabies.
Only a vet can give rabies. And you can have whatever feelings you want about that, but that's how it is. But so she is using the very lowest average cost for like raw alpaca fleece, which is $2 per pound. She's also only talking about the blanket from the alpacas, which is you get about 5 pounds per animal. But she's not talking about other things that you can do with that. And like we found out early on, if you just get the fiber turned into yarn
And just sell the yarn.
it's a really niche market, you know, because there's knitters everywhere. So I'm not saying it's a small market, but there's knitters everywhere, and all of them have a closet full of yarn at home. So there's that. But also, you know, it comes down to like, you know, you're not doing anything with that product, you know, so you're not knitting it into hats, you're not making gloves.
You haven't added any of your own value to the yarn.
Right.
But if you processed your own yarn, you would lose all of those expenses. Or if you knit that yarn into hats, mittens, gloves, then you're adding value to it.
Right.
So she's only looking at the least amount that she could do of the least amount of her fiber and only looking at one revenue stream, and that's how she's coming up with this negative number.
Right, and like we talk about diversification as the most important thing, and so like the one clip that Morgan uses of me in this video, I talk about diversification, and that's what you got to do with alpacas.
And any business.
Any business.
count your labor or any.
3 years ago, Peggy didn't even know what an alpaca was.
Something just came across my desk.
So Peggy doesn't know what an alpaca is. She shouldn't ride her future on it. It's just unwise.
In the last 6 months,
She made the unconventional investment after learning how robust the alpaca business can be.
our analysts indicate it could go a heck of a lot higher than that.
Peggy's initial $56,000 investment.
We are looking at a grand slam home run.
She's betting her retirement on them.
Thank you for...
Don't bet your retirement on stuff. And this isn't an MLM. That's just sound financial advice, right?
Right.
Peggy.
And again, this is Peggy. Hopefully you're doing okay.
I know. Hopefully you're okay.
But like again, just because there's one Yahoo who is going to do something wild, just because there's one person who quits their hard job in Hartford, Connecticut, and decides to move to Vermont and start a duck farm, doesn't make it a multi-level marketing scheme.
Yeah. Right.
Too much?
Thank you for your vote of confidence, and welcome to the Investors Center.
With alpacas, it's something tangible that you have in your hand. It's always going to be there.
Peggy, let's see you holding an alpaca in your hand.
Inflated asset prices, unrealistic market expectations, and an over-reliance on breeding over product. Essentially because there was so much demand for breeding animals, that jacked up the price, and the people who were buying the breeding animals from the breeders were the ones that were actually fueling the economic engine of the expansion of the alpaca market in the United States. So then what you try to do is add more people and bring more people in and get more people encouraged to start raising alpacas. And as that population starts to grow further and further and further, you now have a market for the breeding animals that you've created on your farm. Alpaca prices plummeted. Farms that had invested heavily found themselves with animals that no longer paid their way. Tales of...
He's talking about a supply-demand curve, which again, that's economics.
Right.
But it doesn't have anything to do with an MLM.
Right.
Having a glut in the market that creates a pricing crash isn't related in any way to an MLM of any kind. There's no glut in the Mary Kay cosmetics industry that caused the Mary Kay cosmetics industry to crash because there were too many people set. None of this is connected to MLMs. It might all be true, but none of it has anything to do with MLMs.
Right, so like just because there was an alpaca bubble of the early 2000s, and you'll see that this chart only goes from 2005 to 2011, which is more than 10 years ago when this ended, that doesn't mean that alpaca breeders are pyramid schemes.
Neglect and hardship echoing throughout the once thriving alpaca pastures. You see, unlike a box of diet milkshakes or stretchy leggings that can sit in somebody's basement completely forgotten, these alpaca are living creatures that require resources and care. As the market for alpacas plummeted, so did the welfare of these gentle creatures. While unique in its characters,
and I have a problem with this.
Yeah.
Because, so he just showed some news clips and they all looked very bad.
Yes.
No responsible animal owner of any kind of animal wants to see animals suffer, right? So if you got into any animal for the wrong reason and then found them to be financially not a good investment, there's no reason for you to then neglect them, to not take care of them. It's the connection here is even weaker to me because like I hate for those people that their animals went through that, but it doesn't have anything to do with this.
Right, he's sort of correlating all alpaca breeders turned into these terrible animal owners.
Who force people to get in over their heads and make them neglect their animals.
Right. And like we've seen some tough situations where people, started a farm and then maybe got a bit too much going there. Like, I mean, I don't know the situation with the person in Vermont, but they wanted to get out of alpacas.
A different person, not this person.
Right, not this. Sorry, there was a person where we brought in 10 alpacas from a place in Vermont. They just, they had too much going on.
They didn't want them anymore.
They felt that they couldn't give them as much care as they wanted to.
So they gave them,
so they gave them to us. And I feel like that's a pretty common situation, and that's the right thing to do. And just because there are a few people out there who had, and like one of the clips showed that they had 200 alpacas and they were, neglected, that's awful. But that doesn't mean that we're all sitting here neglecting our alpacas.
Yep.
That also has nothing to do with multi-level marketing.
True!
The Great Alpaca Bubble isn't an isolated event or incident in agricultural history. It's just a stark reminder of the dangers of speculative bubbles, where the allure of quick wealth blinds investors to the supply and demand fundamentals of the industry.
So in that little series of like quick flip throughs that he did, those were all examples of bubbles. None of them were examples of MLMs. And I think the reason that I'm so stuck on the MLM thing, which like I can see that in myself, it's because MLMs really ruin people's lives. There's statistics that are released mandatorily, because MLMs are all real companies, and 99% of the people involved in them lose money. And they're selling you this false dream, and they're taking money from you, and you have to buy in, and then you have to like take advantage of your friends, and it's all ugly. And I don't care how good the leggings are, you shouldn't buy from MLM. Like Pampered Chef, like even if the cookware is great, don't buy that, because it's a bad company with bad business practices. All MLMs. Alpacas are not that, and the tulip bubble, he called an emu and an ostrich bubble.
And that's the thing where he's sort of getting back to the original
what the
genesis
idea
of this video was, where he's like, he wanted to talk about the alpaca bubble of the early 2000s and how it related to the Highland cattle market that he was seeing, because he has Highland cattle. And this is like the only mention of that we see throughout the whole video.
And any bubble can be like that, like the Stanley Cup bubble. Y'all are gonna have Stanley Cups in the back of your cabinet a year from now, wondering why you spent $50 on it. It wasn't a good investment.
Because the Stanley Cup is actually the trophy that you get from the NHL.
Oh, am I?
Finals.
What is it?
It is Stanley, but I don't think they call it the Stanley Cup.
The Stanley Cup. I don't know. I don't have one.
Yeah, so it's okay. It's all good. Do you want one?
$50 cup, please. I drink out of Rayo sauce jars.
So do I. And there was one time we had a friend over, so we have all of these like mason jars that we use for drinking, and he asked for a glass of water, and I was like, yeah, just go in the kitchen. And he was like,
I didn't see any.
I didn't see any glasses. And I was like, oh.
It's because we drink out of old jars.
Sorry.
Now, I'm not going to try to beat a dead alpaca here to make the case that they are a horrible investment. If I haven't convinced you of that at this point, I don't think I'm going to reach you. But I know that there's going to be some folks watching this video wondering if there are actually other reasons to raise alpaca.
Originally, we were going to get sheep, but my wife wasn't able to find any cheap sheep available. She saw an ad with alpacas on Craigslist, and now we have 28 of them here on the farm on 30 acres. You're not going to make money just focusing on the fiber. Farm tours, selling alpacas, selling cria, that kind of thing. It's really necessary in order to have.
This is the alpacas looking at our peacocks. These are our alpacas. That's Cookie with the little white face.
Strictly a financial investment. You're going to really need to pour a lot of
time
and a lot of
peacocks looking out at the alpacas
into making it work. So if you're looking to get alpacas as pets, I would highly recommend it. They're great.
So you might be hearing all of this.
And so what I was basically saying there, while Catherine was talking
right over John, because I've seen that video before.
You lived it. You did it. So I was just talking about, like, if you're gonna look at alpacas as an investment, sure, you can do that. You're gonna need to do, depending on your situation. Again, like if you're out like in the Midwest and you have 150 acres of grasslands and they're all fenced in, great, you have a great head start. But like something for us, like we need to put a lot of capital and a lot of time and energy, but like just the same as anybody else who wants to start a farm or any other type of business. But again, there's no one above us. We did buy alpacas from people, but again, like you buy alpacas from people and you're done.
And we bought alpacas. I mean, we wanted to offset their cost and or make a little bit of money, but we bought alpacas because we love them.
Yes. And we'll make money off them someday.
All of this and
saying, gosh, Morgan, this is a wicked bummer. You are completely ruining my dreams of one day having a farm. If virtually all farm animals ultimately can turn into some sort of multi-level marketing scheme, how could I ever dream of actually being a farmer? Well, here's 3 specific things you should keep in mind to keep your farm dreams alive. Number 1, when you're considering starting a farm, very much think about your business model and the economics of your business model. Where are you getting?
The little text that he popped on the screen was 3 ways to avoid an MLM. He's not doing that at all. He's just talking about
economics of
shrewd business plans.
Right.
Where are you getting your customers from? How much profit can you derive? How much are you going to invest? What do the risks look like? Really look at all of those things and break them down and look at where the incomes for successful
if you were in an MLM, you wouldn't look at any of those things.
Well, even if you did, you could still do it.
And how you're selling it and how it has a consumer base that's out there and very interested in your product, then maybe it's not a bad business to be in. But if the only way you can sell your product is by getting more people interested in the product that you sell, that might not be the best avenue for you to pursue. Number 2.
If the only way, so what he's basically saying is, don't jump into a business where you have to educate consumers about your product. Again, that has nothing to do with an MLM or whatever. And we were talking about this before, where it's like, we have people come up to us at craft shows all the time and be like, oh, I have wool socks. What's so great about these alpaca socks? And it's like, well, they're hypoallergenic. They're way softer than wool socks, so you're going to be way more comfortable. They're moisture wicking. They're going to smell better, and they're just warmer in general. And so it's like, granted, if you sell a premium product, maybe you need to educate consumers more, but just because you have to educate your consumers doesn't mean that you're in a multi-level marketing scheme.
Number 2, easiest way to make a small fortune farming is to start with a large fortune.
Doesn't have anything to do with MLMs.
Never ever exclusively take farming advice from somebody that you see on the internet.
Also doesn't have anything to do with MLMs. So his 3 tips for avoiding MLMs didn't have anything to do with MLMs, didn't mention them, didn't talk about the structure, the recruitment, how they work, how you profit from an MLM, or how you actually don't. Didn't have anything to do with MLMs.
Here's my 1 tip to avoid an MLM.
Don't get involved with one.
Avoid any business where the majority of your income is based on commissions for selling products to a group of people below you.
Yes.
Because
anything where you're recruiting other people, that's how you know you're in an MLM.
Yes. And so again, this was like sort of a silly, funny video from Morgan, but I did feel a little bit bait and switched with him. And I do, honestly, we did see a tremendous influx of hate comments.
Ooh, I closed the laptop. So
we did see a tremendous influx of hate comments after this video went out, and I don't think. Really that up.
Oops.
What the hell was I saying?
We got an influx of hate comments.
We did.
He basically recruited John to put a hit piece out on John.
Well, and also, to be fair, because I do want to be as objective as possible here. So he posted, and again, since we're friends on Facebook, I saw that he posted in 1 or 2 of the alpaca groups that we're in, saying that he was making a video about alpacas and seeing if there was anybody interested in helping him with that. And so now I thought that it was going to be on his main channel because he had not announced this was going to be on his secondary channel yet. And so I was like, this is going to be a great opportunity for our little YouTube channel to go on his main channel and talk about alpacas. Is going to be great. After it came out, I'm glad it was on his secondary channel because I feel like it would have really negatively impacted us in a big way if we're on his main channel. But still, he's a guy who's got a big microphone. This video has 3,700 views on it. And again, it's just not great. It ended up being a hit piece about alpaca farmers, and I'm not comfortable with that. And so again, it's taken us a long time to actually sit down and record this video and put it out. But we wanted to make it right. We wanted to do it well, and so hopefully you enjoyed it. And feel free to leave us positive comments down below. We don't want any negative comments on his video.
Maybe go comment for comments for the people who left us nasty comments.
But no negative comments on his video. if you want
Tell them Catherine's.
if you want to post comments in support of John, you know, maybe you could say like, oh, alpacas actually seem like they're such wonderful animals. And they are, and that's the sad thing in all this. They're so great.
They're funny.
They're so funny. Cute. They all have individual personalities.
Yeah.
And like I say, everybody, with the exception of shearing day, they're all very nice. Anyway, so again, thank you guys for sticking around for this whole video. I know it was a long one, but again, we wanted to do this right. And hopefully we did a good enough job. And I hope you understand how alpacas are really not an MLM. Yes.
That's my ultimate goal.
Hopefully none of you think that anyway.
If you do think that, like, call me and I'll talk about it. Like, literally.
Literally.
I will actually get on the phone with anybody who honestly believes that alpacas are an MLM, and I want you to explain to me what makes you think that, and I want to have a true dialogue. Like, what makes you think that?
Yes. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk. Are you okay? All right. Thank you for watching this video.
See you next time.
Bye.